Hey Yardners, it's Destry. Welcome back to my yard. I live and garden here in the Willamette Valley, Oregon, Zone 8B. Today we're going to be working on some succulent planters, some fairy gardens, and propagating some succulents together. So stick around for the video and let's learn something new today. So today I'm actually in my greenhouse. It's the short part of the day where it's pretty shady and cool in here. So I know that I have to work fast because it will get hot. But I wanted to take you through my collection of succulent planters. You could call them fairy gardens. I like to look for different kinds of found containers for my succulent gardens. So for example, here's one I got at, I think either Goodwill or the St. Vincent's down the street. Um, so I'm going to take you through my collection and then I'm going to show you a few that are ready to propagate. So they've got babies, they've got pups, if you will, and I'm going to be separating those out and creating a new planter today with some really cool wooden boxes that my friend Melissa gifted me. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so here's just a quick tour of what I have going on currently. You can see what I was talking about with some found containers. There's different shallow containers I found at thrift stores and Goodwills. And then what I like to do is find little good luck charms, I guess you could call them. You could call them little fairies or fairy garden fixings, but I like to find things to sort of pop in my little succulent containers as just like a little good luck charm. So here we've got this little angel, there's like this little basket. And so here's another found container. So when I'm looking at containers, this one's a little taller, but I try to look for things that are pretty shallow. Things made out of brass are pretty appealing to me. Here is a little fairy garden house that I actually purchased at a yard sale, and it was in terrible shape. My daughter and I repainted it and refinished it. Same with the little chair here and the fairies. We spray painted those. So this one is probably the most fairy garden of them all. Check this one out. So here is one of my succulents that is blooming. And so here's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the little pups. So this one has pushed little babies, essentially. And so these are ready to clip off of here. You can see the roots are already wanting to find soil. And this mother plant, the host plant, that will help her to, put her energy into blooming. And it will also create more plants for me. So these are the containers I'm going to be working with today. These are, I could call them found or reclaimed. My friend Melissa was looking for someone to take them off her hands. She was done with the project and didn't need them anymore. And I thought they would make perfect little succulent containers. Now, to be honest, what I should start with is a hole in the bottom for drainage for these. But if you look closely, I think there's enough of a gap in the wood here to provide some drainage. And succulents don't need all that much water anyway. So I think we'll be okay. I just need to be careful not to water them too much. I'm going to kind of spin around here to the other side of my greenhouse. I have just a few more succulent containers. And what I'm going to do today is see if there's any more that are pushing babies that I could potentially, snip off and propagate and move to a different location. I've also got some Christmas bulbs here that are doing their thing. Here's one getting ready to bloom. So I definitely have a love for succulents. I think that they're really fun and kind of easy to grow. Let's see, I've got a couple more over here, I think. Here's some aloe, which is another one that's pretty easy to propagate. This one's really fun. I don't know the name of it, but it's got like a fuzzy leaf. It's doing really, really well in here. So I'm going to go through kind of my collection here of succulents, see what I can snip and clip. And then the potting mix that I'm going to be using today is actually specific for succulents. So I will show you that here in just a minute and a couple other tools that are going to help me to put these together today. All right, so let me talk about some of the tools I'm going to be using today. First of all, I have some potting mix that is specific for succulents or cactus. This is really important. It doesn't really matter what brand you're using. This is just the one that I happen to have. but it is important that you pick up something specific for succulents, because most potting mix is going to be way too absorbent, I guess would be the word, or it's just going to hold on to way too much water. So you need something that's fast draining, that has the kind of the pebbles and the rocks, and is a good blend. So this one says for cacti, succulents, and desert plants. So this is what I'm going to use today. I also have just a couple other tools. So they do sell little mini like tools like this. And I did grab myself a set of these a while back, and I actually have used them. They're actually pretty handy. But if you don't have something like this, other things you could use are just like a wooden dowel or a chopstick. A popsicle stick would work. Something to kind of help you control where, digging something small, especially if you're working on a small scale like I am today. So I'm going to go ahead and get my planters filled up. The other thing I have is my clippers, because I'm going to be basically kind of harvesting some of the pups. And so I'm going to clip those off the host plant. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around, and I'll show you how I'm going to approach this today. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to strip some of these leaves off of here, off the bottom. And with this particular variety of succulent, what I can do is just thread this stem part down into the soil. That will kind of help to hold everything in place. And these roots will just do their thing, and they will take off. I believe this type of succulent is called an echeveria. Usually echeverias have kind of this rosette look. Sorry about the dog barking. So what I'm going to do is just kind of thinking about my composition. I'm going to take that tail and just kind of snuggle that down in. And that's where, the popsicle stick or the chopstick can come in handy, because I can make a smaller hole. I can move things around, and I can also tuck in some soil around the babies, I guess you could call them, the pups, as I, go ahead and start this project. So I'm going to go ahead and clip off more here from the mother plant. And actually, what I think I'm going to do is actually take that whole arm off. I'm not going to use the whole arm for planting. I'm going to trim it shorter, but that will eliminate the mother plant trying to, put energy into the pups, which will hopefully allow for this mother plant to have just a really gorgeous bloom, which it's already working on currently. Another thing I could do here for the mother plant to help with that is clean up any of these dead or dried foliage from the bottom. So after I get all the pups out of here, you can see this one has already, look, it's already started to root in. I don't know if you can see that. Here, let me trim it. But I will go ahead and, clean up the mother plant also. But look at this baby. He was already happy in his new home. Sorry about that, little guy. We're going to put you over here because we want to make a different planter here. All right, so I'm just going to kind of continue this process, and I can use my little tool here to help me, kind of settle everybody down into place. And, speaking about your composition, I like to do something, I'm not doing quite yet, but I do like to do something with some symmetry, depending on what I've got. So I could do something where I've got one pup here. Let me backtrack a little bit. One pup in the center, and then kind of the pups sort of radiating out from a central point. What I would probably do is pick the biggest pup to put in the center if I'm going to do something with radial symmetry. I could do something where it's not quite so planned, and groupings of odd numbers, which are usually good for this kind of composition. So I guess what I would say is consider your composition. Don't just randomly kind of stick them in there, or you could, but I like to be a little thoughtful with my placement and how I'm, putting things together. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop talking, and because I can't talk and get creative at the same time. So here we go. Okay, gardeners, so here's what I ended up with. I decided I didn't quite have enough of the little baby pups to do a third container. They just looked a little too sparse. So I went ahead and grouped them just in the two containers from the mother plant here. And I'm just curious, these little stems, I want to bet that if you took these little leaves and just carefully took them off, and kind of tuck them down into the soil, I'm going to bet that you could actually propagate these succulents this way as well. So tell me in the comments if you have ever done it that way, or if that works for Echeveria. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but let me show you another succulent where that does work. So any of these that have kind of more of the thicker stem. So here's two where I just put the leaf down in the soil, and you can see the little babies that pop up there. So anyway, kind of a quick and fun project today. I hope that this inspired you to try something with succulents. Honestly, they're not as hard as they seem, as long as you give them quite a bit of light and not a lot of water. And I think it's so fun to go to the vintage stores or the Goodwills or St. Vincent's and find some cool, containers to use. Here's another one that are just, different. And I think that can really add a lot of interest to succulent gardens. And propagating is pretty simple for succulents, and it's a really easy way to grow your collection. So hopefully this inspired you today to give succulents a try. And yeah, check them out. They're a lot of fun to work with. All right, gardeners, that's going to be it for today's kind of simple and fun container garden of succulents. A big shout out to my friend Melissa for giving me these containers and upcycling them to me so that I could come up with something creative for them. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. I've got tons of other videos here and a really fun community and more videos to come. And don't forget to go get in your yard today. It's a really fun place to be. I'm Destry, and I'll see you next time. Bye.